it's impossible for Formula One to deny your seat if you win F3, win F2. I feel like that's my whole mentality. If I really want to make my dream and make it to where I want to be, I have to be at my best ever going to next season.
Hey guys, we're back with another interview, this time with James Wharton, racing for RT Grand Prix next season in Formula 3, has been with Prema all the way through the junior categories, finishing second in FRECA. And yeah, I'm super happy to have you here. James, thank you very much for your time. And first of all, how are you? What have you been up lately after you finished your FRECA season?
Yeah, well, lately it's been quite boring. Let's say the last week and a half, 2 weeks since the last race in Monza. But yeah, the last month before Monza was really hectic. We had the last couple of rounds of Formula Regional, and then I was doing testing in Formula 3, the pro-season test in Jerez and Barcelona. So before this week was really hectic. The last part of the season, a lot of races back to back, and then getting ready for F3. Now it's all about preparing Macau, which is next week, and I'll be leaving very shortly. But yeah, it's all about preparation for next year, trying to get ready for this big F3 car. But yeah, it's mainly just gym at the moment, golf when I can, but yeah, mainly gym just to try and get that little bit stronger for next year.
Cool. Very nice. So maybe let's start with the future already. I mean, you already talked about it. You had the postseason test with your new team, and tell me more about it. ART, new team, new teammates. Why did you choose RIT? Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, it's going to be a new team for me. Already at the start, you said it's been 3 years with Prema, so it's going to be a big change for me. Going into a French team again is a bit of a different change, but my engineer's been French for the last 3 years, so I think it's quite an easy transition for me. Um, Teammate side, I've worked with Tuka and Lawrence in the past. Lawrence in karting and Tuka in Formula 4 last year, so I know them quite well, which is a really good thing and probably a big reason to go into the team since I knew my teammates and I've really a strong lineup. Let's say I think on paper we probably have one of the strongest lineups on the grid, which is super exciting and super helpful when we're going to a new car. But yeah, the reason to go to ART, I think, is just a really good opportunity for me to really lead the team, really be the lead driver going into next season, and try and really push the team forward with the new car. I think everything is up in the air with the new car of who will be fast and who will not. So I think that's the probably one of the years that it's the most difficult going into a season when none of us know who will be fast. To be honest, even after we finish testing in Barcelona before Melbourne, I don't think we'll know who is the fastest. So it's going to be a really tricky season, I feel, but it's going to really show who's good at working together, who's good at making the team, let's say, build with them. So I think it's going to be a lot down to the driver next year of just really pushing the team forward. So having good teammates, being in a comfortable situation that I am, I'm really happy to be there and can't wait to start with them.
Sounds great. And as you already said, new car, we've seen it with Formula 2. I mean, when we look at Prema, they've been struggling, especially in the beginning of the season, and the grid has been mixed up a little bit, I would say. So do you think that all those returners to Formula 3 for a second or third season, do you think they have as an advantage as they had for the previous years, or will it be like more mixed up and those experience in the car won't be as valuable as it has been for the past seasons?
I think you're pretty right there with that statement because I don't feel they will be as comfortable next year. I feel they all have an expectation of what the car should be doing, but if the car is as different as what people are thinking, I think they're gonna have a really not a hard time, but they're gonna have to really change their mindset going to a new car. For us, we have no references, we have no expectations of what the car should be doing. So for us, it's a lot easier to adapt and let's say be on the limit because we're not really expecting to be fast in this corner. We're just learning as we go. So yeah, I think it's going to be a year where the second, third year drivers that we do have are obviously going to have a lot more experience in a racing situation and how the weekends are working. But from driving the car, they're the same as us, which is really good for rookies.
Hmm. Sounds great. And when we talk about the postseason tests, you've been pretty good. When we look at the times, I mean, they don't say too much about it, but what were the focus points on the postseason test? Just getting to know the car. I mean, it's going to change, but getting to know the team, or what was the main priority for you and also for the team?
Yeah, I think it was more just learning the team, learning with my engineer as well, just trying to get super comfortable before the next year. As a lot of people say, it's probably the most important thing in racing is being comfortable with your engineer and the team around you. So that was probably the number one focus point for us. Was not really performance on track or how fast we are. It was more just how we're working together. In this test, we were doing lots of procedure work for next year, so we're not learning any procedures when we're trying to learn the new car. So we can go out there and know what we need to do to get results with testing. So yeah, it was more just learning for next year as much as possible. So then when we get the new car, we can really work forward.
Cool. And from a driving perspective, how different is it changing teams? I mean, you've sticked with Prema all the way, but also to get comfortable into the team and to feel comfortable in the car. How different and also difficult is it to have a new team around you?
To be honest, I think it's a bit more difficult for me than others because I've had the same engineer for the last 3 years as well, which is very uncommon in our sport. To have exactly the same person, so it's been a bit more difficult for me. Just trying to understand exactly how each other are working. But I felt I've been in Formula now 3 years, going into my fourth season. I really know what I want. I really know how I want to work. So it's been quite simple to be able to work together. So it's happened really smoothly, and I think that's all I can ask for.
Cool. If we look at Kimi and also Dirksen, they moved from FRECA straight to Formula 2. Was this ever an option for you, or can you imagine that some drivers, I mean, there won't be too many FRECA drivers going to Formula 2 this season, but in the future, will this be an option to skip F3, or do you think that this step is an important one to develop you as a driver?
To be honest, I think Kimi is a very, how do I say it, different situation to 99.99% of other drivers. I think he had such big backing, and he was always going to be in F1 from the age of 10. And he had the backing from Mercedes from day one. So for him, it's very different compared to drivers like me who are not in an academy at the moment. And for us, it's about making sure we're completely ready for F3 and F2. It's why I did my second year of F4. It's why I feel ready to go to F3 next year. I just need to make sure when I go to F3, I have a really, really strong year, first year. And to do that, you need to be prepared. So for me, it's a very different situation, and it's about trying to win my first year of F3, and then going into F2 and making another statement. And that's probably the biggest thing that I have to be doing compared to Kimi, who didn't really have to make any statements. He was winning a lot of races, but as you can see in F2 this year, like it was always going to be that it was in F1, no matter what happened this year. So it's a very different situation for others, but I don't think it's going to be a common thing. I think the step of F3 is super big already from regional, and the more driving you get before getting into an F2 car, I think is the better for everyone.
Yeah, sounds sounds right. Sounds to be right. When you said that Kimi was a different level, when I think about another guy, Freddie Slater, in Formula 4, he just broke the record, I think, from Kimi. Do you think this could also be one of those guys skipping through, or just being at the very top in every single season?
I think Freddie is probably a bit different to Kimi right now. He has the no backing from anybody, doing it all himself. So I feel, for him, he'll definitely have to go to F3 in my opinion. And yeah, as I said, to have Mercedes behind you, backing you is a bit of a different story. So I think Freddie is really, really good. I'm good friends with him as well, but yeah, I think for someone like that who hasn't got the backing just yet, which I think we're all expecting at some point, I think F3 would be good for him.
Yeah, Cool. And how are you preparing for Formula 3? So you already said that you're preparing physically to race in those cars, but also mentally, are you changing something on your approach to approaching a new season, or are your plans also maybe doing Formula Regional Middle East? Because I've seen a lot of people, or we've seen a lot of people preparing in those categories. For the upcoming summer season, I would say Formula 3 or also Formula 2.
Yeah. No, for me is just trying to watch as much onboards as possible, which is really difficult in Formula 3 since not everybody has an onboard. That's probably the biggest change from F4 and regional, that during the weekend you can't be looking at your data or your onboard video, which is probably the biggest difference. You can look at data, but it's only the data that you have. Not every car has the onboard camera, so we can't watch our lap, let's say, after practice, which is what we normally do in FRECA. So from that point of view, it's really difficult to be prepared and be on the right part of the track just because haven't seen where you're driving. You only have to remember, and you have to try and learn by yourself without having the video to watch. So for me, it's just about trying to get as much testing as possible in the old F3 car, just to feel the downforce and be ready for any situation next year.
First of all, it's pretty weird to me that we always talk about like improving those young talents and give them as much preparation option as possible, and then you don't have the option to watch yourself driving while you have it in Formula 4 and Formula Regional. It's pretty crazy for me that you don't have the onboards, because I think it's just a learning curve that is being improved by it. Crazy. But I had something else in mind. Yeah, are you able to drive the current Formula 3 car then? Because next season it's going to be a new one, or do you have to drive the older one?
Yeah, I think by the end of the season, we'll be allowed. They think they have to change a couple of things on the car from the FIA, but I think every team will be able to use their cars from this season.
Okay, good. I have one question left on this topic. At what point were you sure that you're going to be on the Formula 3 grid next season? No, I don't mean the when you signed the contract, but when you really knew, okay, I'm going to make it to Formula 3 next season. When was the point?
To be honest, I think before summer break, I knew I had the speed to be in Formula 3, for sure. So from my point of view, I was going to be in Formula 3 before the summer. But I think from let's say an outlooker's point of view, was from the summer break onwards, when I finally used my pace to get results. So yeah, for me, I think I was definitely fully ready before summer break, but after summer break, I really showed everybody that I am. So yeah, probably the race after summer break. Then leading into Red Bull Ring, I knew I was in a really good position. So yeah, it's probably just after summer break.
Yeah, you've been crazy in those second half of the season. Or when we spoke in Zandvoort, you were the results were not there, but after that you were crazy. But before we speak about that, how is the process of approaching a team in Formula 3? So do you have a management, the all-road management, I think, and do you say, okay, go for it, I want to go into Formula 3, so approach the good ones, or how does it work? Do they approach you? Give us some insight.
To be honest, I think if the team is approaching you, is the best way of doing it, because it's like they want you to be there, they want to work with you, they want to help you. So in my situation was very much ART coming to me, but we always had that as an option, for sure. We've always had more than one option. You can't go into a year only having one option, so we've always had other options, and I felt that ART really showed to me that they really wanted me in their car, and I think that's the biggest part of when you're moving category. To be honest, if the team isn't coming to you, you're probably not fully ready for the next year, and I think that's the big indicator of if you're really ready to move and really ready to be on the big stage of Formula One weekends. And yeah, for me, the team coming to me has been probably the biggest reason why I've gone to ART, just because of the confidence they have in me and the belief they have that I can really put their car at the front.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, sounds about to be right. When when I think about it, I mean there are only 30 places or seats in Formula 3. So is timing also a big factor? I mean, is it an unwritten rule that in the summer break you try to position yourself for next season, or what is with those who don't have a seat right now and are struggling to find some? Is timing also a big part of yeah, creating your career in a way?
Yeah, I think you can see in Formula One as well that you have to be there at the right time. And I think it's the same in every category, just on smaller levels and for less money at the end of the year. But I think we all have the same reasoning. But yeah, I think in the junior categories, like from a full, like from a regional, it's just about if you've performed. I think it's very simple. Um, yeah, the teams that are in F3, F2, they're just looking for drivers that are performing. And yeah, if you haven't been outside the top five in the championship like I have, it's a big, let's say, push for the team that you're consistent in the championships and that you can really put a championship together. I think in the last, let's say, 12 months, I've really shown that I've matured enough to be able to be at the front every single weekend and be fast at every single track. So, yeah, I think for a team, it's probably the biggest thing they look for is just consistency, because Formula 3 season is so long and so many things can happen in those 10 races that consistency wins races, as we can see with Fenaroli this year, who didn't even win a race. So I think consistency is probably the biggest thing in Formula 3. Formula 2, there's enough weekends where you can maybe recover, but in F3, you have to be there from the start to be able to win the championship.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And I mean, you've said it, consistency is key, and you had a lot of consistency throughout the last races and race weekends. Maybe just take us through your FRECA season overall. How has it been? Can you summarize it?
Yeah, like going into the season, I knew it was going to be very tough against Rafa, second year, who arguably was easily the favourite to win the championship. So I knew going into the season was going to be, let's say, a difficult thing. But immediately in race one of Hockenheim, I was close in qualifying, and then Q2 I was in front of him. So for me, from day two of the season, I knew I was really in the fight for good points in the championship, in a good position. Then I had a couple of races where I was really, really fast, but not being able to put the whole weekend together. Maybe we'd do Saturday good and Sunday would have a problem, or Sunday would be really good, but Saturday didn't quite have the pace or something like this. So before summer break, I knew I was super, super fast, and I knew I was one of the fastest cars on track every weekend. So I worked super, super hard on myself during the summer. Was in the gym, I think, every single day when I was at home. I didn't have a day off for the month. I didn't do anything other than get ready for the next race, which I felt really shows that hard work pays off, because I come back and yeah, wasn't off the podium once, apart from Red Ring Race 2, where I started P17 and finished P5 on a track you can't really overtake. So yeah, after the summer break, I really just put everything together, really showed what I can be doing and what I really expect from myself, and what I expect my potential to be at some tracks like Barcelona, that I can clean sweep a weekend and be P1 in every session, but then I can not quite have the pace in the last race in Monza and still finish on the podium twice. So I really made myself proud after the summer break with how much I've matured in the last 18 months to finally just be able to approach races and weekends in a way where I can just keep performing in every session and just keep making steps.
Yeah, great. Also great to see that hard work pays off. I mean, you said it, you've been in the gym all day in the summer break. So really great to see that this really counts. And have you changed anything else? I mean, the results weren't there, but the pace was already there in the beginning of the season. So have you changed anything with the team, or in terms of setup or approaching the weekends, or in some kind of way?
No, it was more like just the team helping me of how I should be mentally approaching the weekends. And I think I was always trying to prove a point at the start of the season, but then after the summer break, I've really just said, okay, if I just do my best, it's gonna really show what I can do anyway. There was a lot of like wanting to prove what I can do and really show what I can do at the start of the season, but I was showing how fast I was, but never really showing that I could win races. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, just not really trying to prove any point, just racing for me, having the confidence that my best is definitely good enough. So just trying to, yeah, do my best every week.
Yeah. When I think about it, I mean, the results were in there, and you were a bit more down in the standings. How hard is it to really have this kind of positive mindset and not bringing yourself down and having doubts? Is it the right thing, or what do I do wrong? I mean, when you talk about it, you sound really positive about it, and is it about your mindset that it's really like this, or did you also have some doubts about yourself or your performance in a way?
No, I think one thing I've always had is confidence in myself. Like I always knew that I can be winning races and be on podiums every week at every race. So like I knew it was always there. So I knew I just had to find it. So there was never like a point where I didn't believe that I could do it. But then again, to just do it is much more difficult. So like it did take a lot of time to really understand what I need to do, but I always believed that I could do it. So that really helped. And I already won a championship in 2023 in UAE, doing the same thing, coming from 80 points back and winning by 20 and having a 100-point turnaround in 3 weekends. So I knew it was always possible and I knew I wasn't out of the fight. Okay, to beat Rafa, I knew after the summer break was going to be difficult since the margin he had on everybody. But even that, I ended the year 50 points behind him. And in Spa, when my suspension broke in quali, I feel like I lost 25 points. So, um, yeah, I really showed what I can do after the season, and to finish only 50 points behind him with so many ups and downs at the start of the season, it is a bit bittersweet when you look at it on paper that I probably could have won this championship after summer break. I scored the most points of everybody, but yeah, I just have to be happy with the step I made, and I'm still in F3 next year in a really good team, so it's not like I've fully lost my career or something finishing second. I think finishing second in the first year is really good and one of the best first years there's been. Of course, apart from Kimi in the last year, but the last previous years, it's always been a bit difficult for the rookie. So to finish P2 in my rookie season, I was more than happy, and I knew that I did a really good year and could take the move into next year.
Great. Yeah, it's cool to hear that you don't break under pressure, so that you can really handle the pressure and really do things with it. And I think this will help you in the future in your career as well as in your personal career. So I think it's a really good skill to have. So really nice to hear. What are your 3 key lessons you've learned throughout the season that will help you be even better next season and be better as a driver?
I think consistency, patience, I think is the biggest one, and then just having fun. So fun. I think patience, fun, and yeah, being consistent.
Is it hard to have fun when you have to deliver? I mean, every single race weekend there are only like 50 points to
Yeah.
collect, and how hard is it to really keep the fun up? I mean, you love what you do, but still, I can imagine that it's pretty hard to really have fun in the moment. Or is it?
Yeah, like to have fun, we say, because we really need to try and make the weekends less stressful in a way. Because to be honest, every driver, when that checkered flag comes out on Sunday afternoon, I think we're all finished completely, like ready to sleep, all of us, just because mentally we work so hard during the week that as soon as that checkered flag comes out, we all just lose all our energy. So it's like it's a very managing the way you're feeling. And in FRECA, I think it's bigger because we have a qualifying on Sunday morning as well, where we have a second round of the weekend. So it's not that you qualify well on Saturday, you don't have to be ready on Sunday. Sunday morning, you still have to go out and put the full lap together and be fast again. So I feel like in FRECA, it's more important than other categories to be, let's say, in the right window. A racing situation is so different to qualifying, so it's a very different mentality. It's a very different way of thinking. So for me about FRECA is just that you can go Sunday morning and you have to be in qualifying again. So yeah, I think you can have fun in FRECA because you can win on Saturday. Let's say have a little bit of a relief, go back home and then reset for the next day. So it's like there is a couple of hours where you can actually enjoy that Saturday and have a really nice Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, but still be able to be ready for Sunday.
Cool. Okay, let's look at the Formula 3 weekend in Silverstone. It was incredible to see. Not only looking at you, but overall it was a crazy weekend in Formula 3 and also like Formula 2. It was very nice to watch. Can you maybe let's start with the beginning? Can you maybe walk us through how the opportunity came about? I mean, the penalty for Stenchor, I think was it. It was quite there was quite a long gap between. So how was the process? How did the how did you secure that seat for the race weekend?
Yeah, well, of course, Stenchor is with all road management, so it was a little bit of an easier situation for me. I think we just put the next driver that they had, which was me. But yeah, I've really already spoken to Ollie Oakes a couple of times over the years and even in karting, so he knew who I was. And I think as soon as I knew there was a slight opportunity, we really pushed hard to make sure I had the seat to really learn as much as possible. So for me, it was quite quick that I would be in the seat as soon as it was announced. But then again, I had no preparation because I was too busy racing my FRECA car. So I had no preparation at all for Silverstone. And I hadn't been in any Formula 3 car apart from regional before that Friday morning. So it wasn't definitely not the easiest weekend from that point of view, but it was the most fun I've ever had in a race car. And I enjoyed every second of it because it was one weekend that I've had in my 12 years of racing where it did not matter at all where I finished because there was no expectation at all. When you go into a Friday morning FP when it's wet and you do no laps on slick tires, there should not be expectations that you're going to be on the limit of a car in qualifying in one lap, which is impossible to tell a driver. So for me, it was a really fun weekend and I did some amazing overtakes and was super, super fast in the sprint race, being my first time ever on a long run in F3 car to be, I think, P3 on times at the end of the race. I think from lap 3 to lap 13 or lap 14 in the sprint race, I was third quickest on track with just Arvid who was leading the race and Browning who was my teammate that was a bit quicker. So yeah, I took so much confidence away from that weekend.
Very nice. I mean, on a difficulty level, you didn't choose the easiest weekend to race the first race in Formula 3. How are you approaching this weekend? I mean, you said you were quite quickly sure that you're gonna be there at the race weekend, but how did you approach it? Was it like another FRECA weekend, or was it more different towards because it was also a different team, right?
Yeah, it was a different team exactly. It was with high tech. So I had to learn my engineer and have a relationship in like 2 days, which is really, really quite difficult. But for me, it was just approaching the weekend of learning as much as I possibly can, like from walking into the track with the fans to starting the engine to procedures on the track with the virtual safety car that I never used before. There was like a million things that I had to learn in 3 days. Um, and to be honest, I think it's the most beneficial race weekend I've ever had because I'm fully ready for Melbourne now with all the procedures of how to start, like how to approach the starts, the clutches. I never used a hand clutch in my life. Did no practice starts. My first start was the real start because it was wet for the rest of the weekend. So things like that I've already learned. VSC, I learned already things of how to be good in it as well. And I only did it once. Like I really learned as much as possible, and I think it's gonna help me like crazy in the sprint race of Melbourne because it's just there's a lot of people that haven't done any F3 race that are gonna already still be learning that kind of things, those little things that you don't think about. But in F3, it's a bit more, let's say, chaos. So you have to really be under control of what's happening. So I've never been so happy to do a race just because I know how much it will help me for the year after.
Sounds great. And mentally, what was going through your head? Did you view it as a huge opportunity to prove what you're capable of, or was it also like a little bit of where you also focused on, oh, please don't crash or avoiding mistakes? What kind of mental positioning were you?
I think I didn't really have let's say, a mentality of what I should be doing for the weekend. I don't think there was ever if it was dry in FP, maybe I can sit here and say, okay, I wanted to finish in the points during the weekend. I think if FP was dry, I would have definitely had that mindset going into the qualifying and going into the race. But since I did 0 laps in the dry before quali, I knew that that was so far away. So yeah, after FP, I sort of changed my mindset of just trying to learn as much as possible. Like, yeah, there was definitely a bit of a shift in mindset as soon as it was fully wet in FP and knew it was going to be dry for quali.
And I don't remember which one it was. Was it the sprint or the feature race where you were suddenly somewhere around the points and then you fell back because the condition changed again? And what was going through your mind, and what how did you communicate with your engineer? So because it was kind of a gambling. So what do you do there? It was crazy. It was
Yeah,
wild.
like I was what P7, P6 at one stage, starting P27. Um, at that point, I wanted a red flag and the race suspended, and we never drive again. That would have been perfect. But yeah, I knew that it was going to be a bit of a gamble. But yeah, until what the last 4 or 5 laps, it was wets, and there was no way it was going to be slicks. Um, but I had my wets on from lap one, same as Luke, and some people were already changing slick dry, and they already had better wets than us as well. So we weren't just struggling against the slicks; we were struggling against the other people on wets because they had slicks on at one stage during the race. So yeah, there was a bit of a gamble, and for sure, 20 minutes earlier the race we would have finished P6, which would have been crazy. But I think in our sport, people see that anyway. They saw that I went from P27 to P7, and that they don't care that it dried up. Like as Rene said, from Prema, he said I did a mega race. Like he saw where I was. Like you don't make up 21 spots if you're not somewhat decent at driving and know what you're doing. So yeah, I think it doesn't really matter from my side. I think if I was in a championship, it's the worst possible outcome. But yeah, I was not there for a championship. I was there just to learn, and I think having that much tire dig on wets, and the sprint race was my first long run, so I had to manage a tire for the first time in my life. I've never had to manage tires like that. So yeah, for me, it's just a big learning, and I can't thank High Tech enough for giving me the opportunity, to be honest.
Great. Really great to hear also the insights, what was going behind the scenes. And how was it then going back to the former regional car, and also to the environment of the former regional? I mean, the Formula 3 is a support series of Formula 1, so many fans, so busy here, left, there, everything is going on. And from regional, it's a bit more quiet. So how was that? And also driving in a slower car.
Yeah, it was definitely a big step going to a high speed track as well, going to Mugello where you need confidence in the car. So it was probably the hardest weekend you could have chosen because I went straight back into a high speed track. But yeah, I ended up with my first win in the second race in Mugello, so I don't think it affected me too badly, and I think once again really helped me by showing that I can adapt to cars super fast and be back on the pace straight away. So yeah, it was quite a easy thing, but it's been a big part of my learning over the years, even in karting, where I did 4 categories a weekend at some stages, and just learning different cars and being able to adapt to different scenarios. So for me, I never really or even thought about going back to the FRECA. I knew it would be super easy for me, and I think that's probably one of my biggest strengths is just changing cars, which you sort of don't need in Formula. But yeah, like I can really adapt to situations, and that's why I feel that when the track is in a bad condition, going from slicks to wets or wets to slicks, I'm in a really good point because I really know how to feel the car.
Yeah, also a good skill to have, I think, as a racing driver. So to adapting very quickly to the circumstances. And I had a question in mind. Yeah, I spoke with Nikita Vedrin, and he also did like FRECA and Formula 3. And I was asking him what is the biggest difference between those two cars, and he said the brakes are totally different or heavier or whatever. Would you agree to that? And what is maybe also for you, what has been the biggest challenge also apart from the crazy weekend?
Yeah, no, I feel the braking is the biggest thing. We're putting 200 bars of brake pressure even more, and in FRECA we barely put 120. So it's such a big difference. But for me, it's just the way the car handles as well. Like a high speed corner in FRECA is not good because the car is so heavy. It's like feels like an F4 in high speed, but like the F3 in high speed is where the car is good and where you see the difference in grip. So it's just the commitment as well, like being able to trust the car in F3 on lap one is not easy because you're coming from FRECA, which I think is one of the hardest cars to drive in high speed. So it's like it's big differences, not just from how to drive the car, but just the grip level is such a big step and the power level is such a big step that it's hard to, let's say, trust the car straight away when you get back into FRECA because it's so much more on the limit than an F3 car.
Cool. Let's move forward to next week, Macau Grand Prix. So, how are you preparing yourself to get ready to the crazy street circus like Monaco, but even crazy, I would say? So, how are you preparing to that?
Yeah, I think I've never done so much sim in my life for a track. I'm just trying to learn which way the track goes and where the bumps are, which is, I think, the biggest thing. It's going to be my first street track. It's going to be my first experience with walls around me. Apart from karting, where we did the Las Vegas race a couple of times, it's not going to be. It's going to be my first time on a proper street track. So it's going to be another learning for me. But I think I have to have some sort of expectation. I feel like I can be really confident going into Macau that I'm one of the favorites to win. For sure, I know the car better than some of the F3 drivers that are coming, so I have a bit of an upper hand on that. But yeah, that's a change of team for me as well. So I'm gonna have to learn the team as well, learn the car. Definitely, probably got to have a different approach driving the car compared to what I've been driving all season. So gonna have to learn some things on my side as well. But yeah, I'm super confident and I'm super ready to drive on such a track.
Cool. And what are the benefits of going there? I mean, why are you going there in the first place? I mean, that you don't get any points or whatever, but tell me more about it.
I think it's more just learning for next year, for Monaco next year, learning street tracks. But for me, it's about winning Macau as well. Again, I'm showing this year what I can do, and if I can go finish P2 in FRECA Championship and then go win Macau, it's pretty good for my resume. And once again, just gets my name out there of what I can do on the biggest stages. So yeah, I'm going there to win, and it's probably one race where I have the expectation that I can win the race and not going there to come second. People don't remember who comes second in Macau, so I need to go and try and win.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna be super interesting. And maybe to wrap up your whole career and looking into the future, what are the steps you need to take to maybe reach Formula One in the next years? Obviously, performance is key, but we've seen it with Formula Two this season. It's not guaranteed, or also the past season, it's not guaranteed. If you win it, you're gonna make it to Formula One. So, what steps are super important, or what is super important to be able to reach Formula One?
I think for me, it's just about keeping on this trend of my up. Just keep taking momentum into every race, into every year. Um, and to be honest, I think if you win F3, F2 in your first year, you're going to be in F1. You've seen with Piastri, you've seen with Portoletto this season. I think he'll win the F2. It's very close, but still he's leading the championship. And I think that's the biggest thing of our sport nowadays. It's very hard to be in Formula One, but it's impossible for Formula One to deny your seat if you win F3, win F2. So I feel like that's my whole mentality at the moment is if I really want to make my dream and make it to where I want to be, I have to be at my best ever going to next season. And that's the number one step. So for me, it's about focusing next year straight away on 2025, finish Macau and FRECA, and I'd say leave that in the past, move on to the next chapter, and then go into the next season with as much confidence as I possibly can have, and really try and be there from day one in Barcelona to the last day in Monza. Just really try and be at my best every weekend, and I feel like next year is a really, really big year for me and a really important year to really be on that F1 weekends, and be able to really show what I can do on such a big stage. I feel like FRECA is very well known and very highly rated as a championship, but of course they want to see you do it when there's F1 teams there, when there's F2 drivers there, and there's bigger opportunities and bigger pressure. But for me, there's got to be no more pressure for next year. I put myself under the same pressure, even for a small karting race. So I'm ready for next year, and I can't wait to start.
Great. Yeah, I wish you nothing but the best for the future, and that everything falls in place for you, and you're gonna achieve your goals. I would say that will be it for this episode, and thank you very much. Appreciate your time and those interesting answers and in-depth answers. Very cool conversation. Yeah, thank you very much, James.
No problem. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Then, guys, bye bye, and see you in the next video.